Hey guys, EBPMAN here. Now in today's video we're taking a look at Benq's new HT2060 LED projector. Now this is a projector that is compact. It's going to be something that you'll be able to use in a variety of settings in your home or even outside. And it's packed with great features. Let's go and check them out. Now this projector is a 1080p projector. It has 3D capabilities. It's DCI P3 compliant with 93% Rec 709. It has a gaming mode that's going to give you a 16.7 millisecond response time at 1080p with 60 Hertz. Now, it does have a vertical lens shift. It's going to give you a lot of flexibility when it comes to placement. It also has a LED lamp. It's LED based, and you're going to get 20 to 30,000 hours of usage, which is going to be more than enough to last the life of this product. It could go anywhere from 100 to 150 inches, and all you need is 12.5 feet. It was around, I would say, about 8 to 9 feet in my home, and I was getting a 123-inch screen, and had to do some adjustments to make sure that I could get it smaller because it was just too big. Now it has audio out, an RS-232, USB 2.0, 2 HDMI 2.2 ports, as well as a optical audio out. Now the projector itself, as you can see right here, is relatively small for a projector of this class. You can see that on the top here you have all your controls, right? And you also have keystoning, you also have your menu. So the neat thing about this is that while you have a remote, and it's a really cool remote that you'll see in a second, you can operate the projector from the projector itself. Oh, by the way, this does have a different or various mounting settings so that you can have this projecting forward, on the ceiling, reverse. It has all those features as well. Now over here you do have zoom and focus. So here, this little button right here, and we'll turn it on in a little angle right there. This one right here is going to be for your zoom, and then this right here is going to be for your focus. So you'll be able to do that as well. Now, if we take a look at the back, and we'll flip this over so you can see it here, right on camera, you do have several ports here. So you have those 2 HDMI ports that we made reference to. You also have your USB-A. You have your optical out, RS-232, audio out, right? Audio in. And then you have your power. The cool thing here is that there's no power brick. So all you do is you plug in the standard cable in there, and then it's just going to work. On the very bottom, you do have mounting options. So if you are looking at mounting this on a ceiling, you could do that as well. Now you also have various adjustments. So if you want to have this on a tabletop, you can turn these, rotate them. You have here a really quick one that you can actually just pull out like this. So while you do have that rotation, I like that you could just push the button right here and it's going to adjust. Now you have venting on both sides, so you can see the venting that you have here, venting that you have here. It's relatively quiet. This is not the type of projector that as you're running it, you're going to hear a lot of fan noise. So we were watching movies. This is not a smart projector, so it doesn't have a Android TV built in, but I was running this with a Google Stick. I was pushing through it 4K, right? So it was not rejecting it, but it was obviously not giving me a 4K image because it's not. But throughout all my tests, I was pushing through 4K quality just to see what the quality looks like. And the quality was pretty spectacular, right? So a couple things that I'll highlight about it is I found that this is a projector that does really well during night settings, right? So you'll see all of our shots are going to be in a nighttime setting showing you how well it's projecting. During daylight, even with the screens that I have, I found that this doesn't really do extremely well in a daylight setting, but in a nighttime setting, as you can see in our shots, it did extremely well. Now, one other feature I just wanted to show you, because we talked about the lens shift. This is what's going to give you that lens shift, so you can see it right here. So the cool thing about this is that as you're turning this, you get that lens shift effect, which is going to give you a lot of flexibility when it comes to, again, the positioning of the projector. So it makes things a little bit more forgiving than it would a traditional projector. Now the remote, I've always loved Benq remotes because of how bright they are. So you can see how well it illuminates even in this situation. Very easy to see. And it's one of the few companies that actually has a dedicated on button and a dedicated off button, which some people appreciate. But here you have all your controls that you can just tap. And keep in mind that you use this for the initial setup. It does have volume wall controls as well here. And I have to tell you, we're using this as our main viewing device for several days now. And it did really well. Even though I have a surround sound system, it was loud enough. It didn't feel it didn't feel like it was tingy in any way. Like sometimes when you're pushing a projector or a speaker system too much, you don't really get immersive experiences. You don't get bass, you don't get mids, you don't get highs. It feels like just a small speaker. In this case, that was not the case for us whatsoever. We actually had a great audio experience, and we were like, wow, this thing plays pretty loud. And when it was sitting about 3 feet from where Nilda and I were sitting as we were watching movies, but obviously using a Google TV stick to actually stream. Now, let's talk about the overall video experience. So, as you can see here, one of the things that I found that was pretty spectacular about this is how well this projector performed in low light situations, video that actually had black, a lot of black scenes. And those black scenes, as you can see here, did extremely well. We did, one of the scenes we had a bottle of whiskey, pouring some whiskey into a glass, and it just looked really, really nice. The blacks weren't gray, but they were actually black. As we look at other scenes going through various colors, various motions, the projector performed really well. From a gaming perspective, what I would say with the 16.7 milliseconds, it's not going to be, I would say, the highest performing projector on the market when it comes to gameplay. Especially if you are an avid gamer and you're using first-person shooter type games, that is going to be something that you may not find it the milliseconds, the latency to be low enough for you. But standard games, you know, that you would be playing worked well on this projector. It was enjoyable. We didn't really notice any kind of latency that really mattered, right? But again, if you are someone who's an avid gamer, first-person shooter type ones, where you're looking at that trigger, looking at that motion, you're going to be able to tell the difference. When it came to 1080p versus 4K, because that becomes a big question, I'll tell you, it's, you know, we consume most of the content that we see is all 4K content, and we have 4K ultra short throw projectors is what we use, and this did it really well. Even you know, as Nilda has been exposed to all these projectors, I asked her, hey, what do you think? She says, that's a great image. When I told her that is a 1080p image, she was like, really? I said, yeah, it is. And clearly it's not going to be at the level of a 4K, but I'll tell you, you have to look twice. You have to look twice, and you have to ask, because the image quality on this is that good. All right, guys, so we'll take a closer look at the menu and some of the options you have in the projector. And I just stopped on this image because I really love how deep the blacks are, and then just the overall look of this projector. Even though this is a 4K stream, this projector is a 1080p projector, but it's doing a really nice job rendering this 4K stream. Now, to highlight, just wanted to show you guys the remote. I really like the fact that this remote glows, and it glows really well. A couple things that we'll highlight. This is not a smart projector in the context that it has Android TV or an operating system on it, so you are going to have to use a dongle. And I'm actually using a Google TV stick to do this, or stream YouTube. There's a couple options that you have on the remote. You know, you have a menu, you have source selection, you also have Cinema Master, menu options, quite a, I would say, a variety of buttons that you can choose to just modify your projector. But I'm going to take us to the menu here just so we can see what's going on. So here we have the picture mode, which is HDR10. You have fast mode is off, brightness, you can see really nothing that's been modified there. The sound mode is cinema, and I have to say that for the size of this projector, it sounds really, really well. The actual piece that we've compiled of all these images, which we've done ourselves, also we put an audio track on there, and it's loud. But not loud where it's loud and distorted, but loud and clear, and just gives you a really immersive experience from an audio perspective. And you'll see that in some of the samples that we'll run. And again, what you have over here is the light source mode, right? We have it in a Smart Eco. We'll change that. Let's see if that makes any kind of difference. So we're going to do it normal. So we go back. There's a slight flicker, right? So look at the whiskey. It kind of lightens up slightly. So we'll leave it on normal just to see what that looks like. I can tell a little bit. There's a difference in the actual white characters now, or all the fonts that are white. You have 2D Keystone, and then you have your menu type. Now this is going to be the simple menu. One of the things that you could do is always go into an advanced menu. You see this with a lot of the BenQ projectors. So we're going to go ahead into the advanced menu, because here you're going to see all of your choices. So here you have your picture mode, which we already saw, right? So you have several options to choose from. The filmmaker mode, which is going to give you a view that
simulates or is closest to what the original filmmaker intended for the video that's being played. And then what you can do here is modify contrast, obviously sharpness, and go into advanced color options if you wanted to. I normally don't play with this much. From an audio perspective, you can see that the sound mode that you have is cinema. You do have some options here that you can go through: music, game mode, you see sports, and then you have user, which you can configure. We'll leave it on cinema. Then you also see that you have several options here that you can also modify if that's something that you want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go back now into the display area. Here you can set your aspect ratio, your auto source, if that's something you want to do, and then also you can rename your sources. Basically what renaming your sources allows you to do is to change, instead of HDMI 1, HDMI 2, let's say for example you have a PlayStation or an Xbox, you can actually name it that. Or if depending on the streaming stick that you're using, you can too. You have some HDMI settings here that we'll go into. And the HDMI settings here, again, you can basically look at your auto, limited, or full. And now I want you to look at what happens when you go with full. Notice how the colors, the blacks, aren't as deep, right? So I'm going to go into auto, full. We'll do that again. Let's see if that's coming up on video. Yeah, it's coming in. So you can see how, take a peek at the bottom of the glass of whiskey, and then what you're going to see is, notice how the highlights change. So we're going to go full. You can see how it comes out a little bit more, and then over here stays darker. I prefer the darker, but that's something that you could change, you know, depending on what you like. All right, so you have HDMI equalizer, and then you also then have EDID, variety of settings that you can go ahead and play with here if that's something that you'd like to do. Now, in the installation area, you can actually set your projection mode. Front, ceiling, back, you know, that's what's going to happen there. Your keystone, vertical keystone, and then also some of these others. You can actually launch a test pattern to be able to see what's on the screen and make sure you align it to your screen. I was able to align it to my liking. And by the way, I'm using an Elite screen, CLR3. This screen is actually designed for an ultra short throw, but this has been doing really well in our tests, so I've been just leaving this screen up. It does, I like the way things look. And if we go down to system, here you can see the language settings, you know, background settings. You know, this is where you're going to go in to modify what things vary infrequently. And then here you basically have, again, all the details about your projection. And you'll notice that the detected resolution that's coming from the streaming stick is 2160p, right? Primary source is the HDMI 1. We have HDR10 enabled, and then we do have the ability to turn on 3D if that's something that we chose to, right? So I think that fantastic. You know, overall, I've been really surprised how well this projector, a 1080p projector, has been performing. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to get out of the menu. Let me go ahead and escape out of that. All right, here I have a Google TV dongle connected to the actual projector, and you can see again what the quality looks like. I'm just going to go through the channels or just go from left to right. There's really no operating system here, so there's really nothing that we're going to show here, but I just wanted to show you what you can expect if you do choose to use something like this. And you can see how well the performance is and how well the colors are. Colors are spectacular on this, but you know what, that's what you come to expect from BenQ. And then, like I mentioned, the audio is as well. So let me run something for you so that you can hear audio and you can get a sense of what this sounds like. All right, now the next test is going to be an audio test, and what you're going to hear is some music that we have in one of our tests for our headphones. And what I like listening to or listening for is the separation of the instruments, so the strumming of a guitar, if there is a drum, and then the vocals coming in. I look at that music separation as a way for me to be able to determine how well the audio is being reproduced, that things aren't getting lost as they're being introduced, right? Or they're not, I would say, overwhelming the other. So let's go ahead and hit play on that so you can hear that. All right, so hopefully that gives you a sense of the overall audio quality that you can expect from this. Again, pretty spectacular. I really was surprised how loud this was. And we've been running this today all day, and using this as our primary device. We're going to be running this for the next few weeks as our viewing, I would say, projector, just to make sure that we see that consistent experience that we're talking about. But again, what I'd really like is the overall quality of the image, how clear it is. What you also then have is the colors are vibrant. And once again, this is a 1080p projector that's performing really, really well. Hard to tell the difference between 1080p and 4K unless you have a really trained eye and you're looking for it.
So guys, that wraps up our review. See you in the next video.